Hello, I'm Nightmaaron, and welcome back to the letter. We're still playing Marianne, and we just had an incident while we were inspecting the mansion. The spirit here took the form of our ex-girlfriend. Well, she really wasn't our girlfriend, but she had feelings for us, and we come to find out that we didn't return those feelings even though we felt them, and she committed suicide, I guess. So let's get back into it and see if we can find out more of the story. It's already dark as we make our way out of the mansion. With no lights, we are only illuminated by the headlamps of the Wrights' car and the stars up above us. The sight of them helps me compose myself much more than several minutes of being alone did. The car's engine is running, yet the two still stand out on the lawn. Mrs. Wright is busy, eyes up to the stars, and Mr. Wright, arms crossed, has his eyes down on the ground. It is the crunch of the grass under my heels that brings their attention to me.
About time. What took you so long? A minute longer and I'd think the house swallowed you all up.
It might.
Oh, hush, dear. I'm sure she has her reasons. Marianne doesn't seem the sort to idle.
Sorry, I was just checking on something important.
See, business is business and they take time, love. You should know that better than anyone. So, Marianne, what do you think? Are you the woman for the job? I know we already signed papers hiring you, but I want to be 100% sure that you are committed.
Oh, I am. I glanced back towards the mansion, knowing what I had seen there, or rather who I had thought I'd saw there, because there is just no way. Not to mention how I acted towards Mrs. Wright, for goodness sakes. I should feel the slightest bit hesitant. I was lucky. I've seen enough films to know what happens when a promiscuous woman enters a haunted house. This is my chance to turn it down, make excuses, say I'm not up to the task, that I need to take care of my old, sick father. Just pay the fine, which is probably outrageous for a contract like this, and let it go. I should turn it down. But for some obstinate reason, I can't. In the same manner, I haven't let go of her, or the regret that has shattered me since that day. Much as I hate to admit it, even to myself, seeing her again, the mischievous glint in her eyes, the loose tendrils of her hair curled around her forehead, it's something I've terribly missed, and now that it's here, almost within arm's reach, My father would tell me, sometimes you just simply have to go through with it. Consequences be damned. And well, I really don't have any logical reason to say no. At least not something a client like the Wrights would want to hear from a professional designer.
It's certainly an interesting project. You can be sure I'm seeing it through the end.
Such dedication! Oh, I do love the determination.
I bet you do.
You were always determined like that, weren't you?
Hearing her voice once again sends a chill down my spine. I can't wait for this day to be over. From the mansion and through Anselm, I rode with them in silence. But as soon as we hit the city proper, I asked to be dropped off and bid them a good night. I thought it best if I didn't stay too long in confined spaces with either Mrs. or Mr. Wright. Both seemed to cause me serious trouble, and if the project had been any less interesting or grand, I would have dropped it without a second thought. Would have. Shouldn't have. Won't. I assure them that my place isn't that far off, and I have to fight off the urge to roll my eyes and groan when whiskey throws me a little smirk. But even in my own home, peace is elusive as is sleep. I lie awake thinking of what I saw in that mansion, of who I saw. If I so much as hear a single whisper from her, if I so much as see a wisp of her hair, I'm afraid I'll go mad. But none of that happens, and it makes me feel hollow. For 2 nights, I've had trouble sleeping, but it's only one morning when fatigue has already let me rest that I'm reminded of what terrifies me so. In my restless dreams, I see that mirror, the one in the study, and in it I see her, I see them. Lorraine and Hannah. Hannah and Lorraine. And blood!
Poor pathetic Marianne. Work, work, work. She'll work herself to death.
See, she doesn't listen. That's all she did. Look at what happened to me.
They talk amongst themselves with cruel smiles and venomous tongues. Or rather, to themselves. 2 heads, 1 body. Oh, I just noticed that. That's creepy. A horrible mockery of these women, as if they were one and the same.
More's the pity. Life goes on and goes out, and she doesn't even see it.
Do you think she'll even realize when she's kicked the bucket herself?
When they say a person has a hard time telling when they're in a dream, it was true often enough. Even with this bizarre sight, even with this oblivious implication that this isn't real, I can't help but feel distress.
Likely. Is that any way to live at all? She might as well be dead.
Cruel fate that she's alive and I'm... well...
Though they speak in each other's ears, tones low and hushed, I can still hear them clear as the day. Their whispers pervade the air, heavy and oppressive. They bury and dig in my head like tiny maggots worming their way into my skull. It is only then that they take notice of my presence. Eyes turn towards me and I can only feel small under their scrutiny. Caricature smiles etch on their faces, mimicking each other grotesquely.
Oh, Marianne! How long have you been standing there, dearie?
Ugh.
Come join us, Marianne. We won't bite.
Lies!
Unless you ask, that is.
Have you been looking at us? Spying? How scandalous. Such a naughty girl.
I'm sure you were just waiting for something lewd to happen, weren't you?
I don't like where this is going.
You know she will not admit it. She thinks it wrong. You've said it so yourself.
Yes. She thought me wrong, impure, abnormal, because I loved her.
My breath hitches, and I open my mouth to protest, but they stop at me, screeching. The mirror that holds them cracks, lines spidering across its surface.
Do not lie. We know the gluttonous thoughts you try to deny, girl. All those desires you bury beneath that sickening guilt. You act the martyr when you turn the bed you lie in into your own hedonistic hell. You are nothing but a tainted soul with filth-stained flesh held together by falsehood and pride.
They look livid, and when it looks like they would lunge, I wake feeling like the wind had been knocked out of me. With a groan, I squint and find certain fluff ball sitting on my chest, looking as pleased as Punch. She is the overlady of cats, queen of despair, and destruction of nice furniture. Though I can't stay mad at her majesty because it feels like she did something good this time. I was having a nightmare, but I can't even remember what it was about. Trying to recall leaves a terrible pit in my stomach. Maybe it's probably better that I don't remember.
Good morning, Baruthiel. Who's the good kitty? Are you hungry? Is that why you woke me up?
A content purr comes from my sweet dear before she jumps off the bed and trots towards the kitchen. On the other hand, it takes me a bit more before I roll out of bed and start my day. Mornings before work is always a quiet affair. Shower first, then a mug of coffee and a bowl of oats. Sometimes I do stretches and I always check my work email. The Wrights will be moving into the mansion today. I don't think the paperwork is officially done yet, but it isn't too far-fetched to think they were allowed to start their move despite that. Rich people like them will always find ways to get what they want after all.
I'll be leaving you again today, Beth. So you behave and make sure not to shred up my new covers, okay? And don't worry, I didn't forget tomorrow is Black Cat Day, so I'll throw you a party. But only if you behave like a proper lady.
She barely gives me a glance as I say that before going back to her own food. Cats. Still better than humans most of the time. Too bad I have to work with humans. The place is already busy as soon as I get here. The foreman, one that I recommended to the Wrights for his work ethic, is early as usual. Already he's instructing his men here and there with bigger loads. I have no chance to talk to him as Mrs. Wright appears and greets me with a smile.
Mrs. Wright, I hope everything has been to your liking thus far.
Good morning, Marianne. It has been delightful, and these men have been very helpful. Look at all this. It's so busy here. I'm getting tired just looking at them go.
No complications so far with the movers or the previous owners of the mansion, I hope?
If anything, the only one being problematic is Luke, if I'm to be honest. He can be such a diva, but I do like that about him.
She stops, looking up the upper landing where Mr. Wright comes through with 2 other movers in the mirror from the study.
Oh, do be careful with that mirror. We wouldn't want anyone getting hurt because of broken glass. Why are you even having it carried around?
Oh? You did say you didn't want the mirror, and I keep getting distracted by it. If I'm going to turn the study into my office, I'd rather not have it there.
I bet he's having visions in that mirror too.
Where can we put this?
Well, you are not putting it in our room. Why don't you go, I don't know, put it in the wine cellar for now? We can figure out if we'll store it in the attic or somewhere else later, yes?
You heard her, boys. To the cellar it goes. Mush!
Oh, the movers bring down the mirror one step at a time, no matter how much the man tells them to hurry. An unsettling feeling grows in my stomach as I see our reflection in the bloody thing. And I look away, not wishing to risk anything. If I see Lorraine's image in the mirror now, I wouldn't know what to do. I don't have the luxury of privacy right now, and I'm not going to break down in front of all these people. Mrs. Wright only shakes her head and laughs at her husband's antics as they take the mirror out of here. He's back at it again soon enough, pointing the men here and there. I'd say he's the man with the plan, but it sort of interferes with the layout and design that we've agreed upon up before. I'm about to point it out, but...
It's better you let him realize his mistakes on his own, rather than tell him of them. That way you do not get blamed for his actions.
Ah, smart man.
It is more fun, too, to tell him, how does they say it? I told you so, once he slips up.
I like your attitude.
Been working with him long enough to know that, huh?
It's not like I plan to make too much of a fuss unless what he changes is actually crucial.
It happens often enough, when one is made to accompany him nearly all hours of the day.
Up, higher. Come on now.
Still, he could at least be less pushy about things.
Careful now. I know your pictures are framed by cheap plastic, but those are framed by African blackwood and are one-of-a-kind commissioned paintings. Each one is easily worth a lifetime of what you lot make.
Such a douchebag, I swear. It is surprising how hands-on he is compared to my usual clientele. Well, both of them are, actually. It's refreshing to have them participate despite their initial reluctance.
Luke, do the dishwashers go into the kitchen or the butler's pantry?
Pantry, Buttercup. Careful, that's Emma. No, you there, put that down. You do not manhandle a Napoleon Abueva.
He really needs to tone down the dramatics a notch. Mrs. Wright and the butler look like they're used to it by now. But the rest of us, well...
Sweetie, why don't we go and sort your suits upstairs? Let your Hans and Marianne and the foreman deal with the rest of the work.
Thank you.
We have this, Mrs. Wright.
Yes, please do go before a blood vessel bursts. Bloodstains are so troublesome to clean.
There is an obvious sense of relief as Mr. Wright is dragged out of the room, leaving the movers to do their work in peace. Some grumbling even comes from some of the younger workers. It's a good thing the family butler isn't blindly loyal to his boss, or there will be trouble with Mr. Wright.
He is such a bratwurst. Whiny baby who never got enough hugs from his mutter.
Probably lost in translation, and not that I'm condoning talking about someone else behind their back, but I think you meant to call Mr. Wright a horrible brat.
Well, he is that too. There are a lot of things I can call him, but I mean to say that he is a big weenie. A childish name for a childish person. Like a child, he whines when he doesn't get what he wants, and he breaks the toys that he has.
That gets a laugh from me, as well as a few other movers who linger near. He and I carry boxes, instructing the movers where they should be and generally taking over Mr. Wright's work. It goes off without a hitch, and the man is helpful, efficient, and capable with physical labor, despite his clean-cut appearance. A gentleman to boot, taking boxes from me when he sees me struggling with them. Speaking of boxes...
Hey, one of the boxes for the kitchen is missing. Has anyone seen it? The one with the pots and the knives.
The Bratwurst had it brought upstairs, thinking it was for the attic.
Why would he... Oh, never mind. I'll go get it.
Uh-oh. Here we go. Why even bring a box of pots and knives to the attic? The man is ridiculous. There's probably no point in making sense of what he does if he just does them because he can. At least, it turns out that I don't have to make it all the way up to the attic. The mover probably on Mr. Wright's orders left the box on the stairs.
At least it's not that heavy.
I managed to hoist it up without too much effort. But the time it takes for me to do that is long enough for me to overhear odd conversation I could, never in my life, imagine coming from a couple like the Wrights.
Well, if you're not careful, I might go a bit loopy and I'll start bringing cats home. And soon enough, one day you'll find yourself going home to a farm just filled with felines that follow you everywhere.
Oh, don't bluff. The things would shred up your precious furniture. Besides, you don't even like cats.
True, true. Dogs are infinitely superior, of course.
But what about the wet dog smell? The mess. I'm not cleaning up after a mutt, no matter how cute.
I love dogs. I have chihuahuas, as you all know from my videos of them barking.
If you think about it, a cat would be better.
For once, I'll have to agree with Whiskey on this one, though I can live with Mrs. Wright being a dog person. But as amusing as this conversation might get, I really shouldn't be caught eavesdropping or slacking off on the job. At most, I should be looking of ways of possibly soundproofing certain rooms, perhaps bringing it up if they don't realize the lack of it. I really should. Oh, I don't want to get caught, but I do want to listen. I don't usually care for private affairs of my clients. I'm being nosy. As I consider if I should lurk a little longer, I miss what else was said. All I know is that the topic have somehow moved on from pets to children.
I wasn't being serious.
It's not something you take the piss out of. Having a kid is a big responsibility, Hannah. We've talked about this, haven't we? I'm not ready to be a parent. I'd probably end up killing a little brat by the week's end.
Such a douche. The regret sinks in fast. Why can't I just keep to myself and mind my own business like I usually do? Of all the times to be curious. Lorraine, bless her soul, once told me that there are 3 things I shouldn't do unless I want to be on the shit list of the social elites. First, don't mess with their livelihood. Whatever business they have that made them and keeps them rich is something they need to protect. Whatever it is, some multi-million company or some sort of state secret, they keep that close to their chest. Businesses that challenge legal matters and moral issues aside, unless they profited from criminal conduct, it's best to steer away from and avoid being their competition. Second, don't mess with their affairs, especially the married sort. It's messy business just to even gossip about it. And worse, to actually be the other woman. I'm towing the line with this rule because of Whiskey. And the third thing?
Of all the times to be as sharp as a beach ball and as slow as a sloth, Marianne.
Well, the third thing rings true just about anyone, really. Don't mess with their family. Of course, she used the word mess quite loosely. And I think what I'm doing now falls under the multiple definitions it could take. Listening to this, something so undoubtedly private, is a great way to get in trouble.
Kylie likes you well enough.
Yes, well, it's Kylie. The tyke likes everybody and, on the off chance she doesn't, likes them well enough as long as they buy her sweets. And sure, that kid is great. But if I get tired of her, I can ship her back to her father at the end of the day. Having kids of our own will be a whole different monster entirely.
I think you'll be a great father.
I don't know, he's kind of an asshole. I walk away as far and as fast as I can while still carrying the box until I'm a good distance in the foyer. I even risk my neck taking the steps down 2 at a time before quickly handing off the kitchenware to Johannes.
You really shouldn't run down those stairs. You might slip and break your neck. And that isn't a pretty way to go.
I'll keep that in mind, thanks. Wouldn't want anything to happen to my pretty neck. Why do you think I wear a scarf?
Because they're comfortable? Other than that, they're still serious choking hazards. You might be wearing your own noose.
Ooh, is that hinting at something?
Cut the morbid stuff and let's get these things where they belong.
My kitchen, my rules. If you have somewhere else to go, which I'm sure you have, you may leave the area to me.
Well, I still have to check a few things there, if you don't mind.
How many times do you need to check every room? Are you sure you're not just looking for this secret recipe of my Kirby soup? Because I'll have you know, it is all in my head.
I like to be thorough with my work. I'm sure you understand.
He shrugs as we enter the kitchen. The box is quickly placed on top of the countertops, and he sets to his work quietly. Occasionally, he would ask me to take one thing or another and place it someplace else, but for the most part, I'm left thinking about what I just heard. The talk of children and Mrs. Wright's insistence on getting that room, could it be? No, she doesn't look it, but of course, it could just be too early to show. And if she does whiskey know? It really doesn't sound like it. What do I care, though? On aside from the fact that I may be working with a pregnant woman who will have a baby in the near future, and this place isn't exactly up to modern safety standards. The slightest possibility that that might be the case only makes me worry. I'll have to do a better job than what I usually do. The movers work efficiently even when they're left alone, and they do a quick work of their responsibilities. The head foreman comes standing in the doorway to consult me on this or that, and I have to go help out every now and then. But they pretty much have everything up to standards. They skip lunch entirely, not even realizing when they do so. Nevertheless, all is well as the butler gets to heating up the leftover bubble and squeak from breakfast, and it makes a generous batch of fish and chips for them. Most likely simple in comparison to what he serves to the Wrights, but well done nonetheless.
That smells good. Want to wrap up some for me to go?
It's an idle observation more than anything. My thoughts as they are preoccupy me.
If there are any left, one can't go wrong with fish and chips. Everyone loves them, even my husband, and he's American.
I really do hate getting so up and close and personal with my clients. It's a distraction. It is obvious to me that I've gotten my priorities all wrong when I can't help but think about what I heard, what I learned about the Wright couple. These things have a way of creeping up on a person. Thoughts, ideas, whether they are fact or fiction. They creep up and fester, crawl and writhe in ways that twist. I hear giggling, delighted and mocking. They creep up and the sensation of fingers ghosting briefly on my arm causes me to freeze and hiss.
Don't!
Redo. I half expect her to be there.
Whoa, no need to scream bloody murder. It's just me. Quiet down before you break glass.
But it's just whiskey.
Don't do that again. Ever.
I don't like being scared, though I don't believe in the likes of spooks. Being startled is not on the top of the list of things Marion liked. Lucky for him, I have nothing within reach or he would have gotten on friendly terms with something like a rolling pin.
What was with that reaction? Were you really scared? Has Johannes been telling you ghost stories? He just loves to scare people. Isn't that right, Brother Graham?
The butler's expression is unreadable. I hardly see any emotion on his face to begin with since I started working for the Wrights, aside from vague amusement. There must have been something there, though, judging from Mr. Wright's own content look. The expression on Mr. Wright's face is almost cruel. But neither of them spoke, even as Johannes leaves the room to serve the workers their late lunch.
So, now that we're alone, Marianne, what are you so jumpy for?
I was just thinking about all the urban legends the movers have been telling me about this place.
Don't tell me you believe in that tosh. They're nothing but tales made up to scare children. Timmy, Billy, don't you dare go up to that big mansion and get in trouble there. The ghosts are going to get you.
I have to say, the voice acting is pretty good in this game.
That's a boring way to look at it, but that's usually what it is anyway, no? Like I said, I was just thinking.
It would be a relief, actually, if those rumors of the place being haunted are true. That just means I'm not going bonkers. Hearing, let alone seeing a dead person isn't exactly the symptoms of a healthy mind. Sure, it means there'd be such things as ghouls and goblins, but at least I'd be sane. On the other hand, there would actually be a dead girl walking around.
If you could excuse the inane question, Mr. Wright, you haven't noticed anything weird here?
A simple enough question on the surface, yet I notice the man stiffen as the question leaves my mouth. I wouldn't have noticed it if I wasn't watching his reactions intently, but in his eyes I see something dangerous.
It depends on your definition of the word weird. Are we still on the topic of this place being haunted? Because no, things have not started to fly around and we have yet to require an exorcism. I don't think my head would like to do the whole 180-degree turn thing.
Well, maybe that, but no strange people?
Aside from my usually weird butler and all the weird men traipsing around touching my things? No, not really. Why do you ask? Have you noticed anyone strange while you were here? Because you must report it to Johans and he'll have security handle it. But these reports better not be about ghosts and things that go bump in the night. I don't want to waste manpower on the boogeyman or senseless witch hunts.
I'll keep that in mind, Mr. Wright. But no, it's nothing like that. I guess the mansion is just strange for me. It's a unique project.
No strange men or women lurking about then?
A dead teenager would technically qualify as strange. But yeah, the whole I see dead people thing, it isn't going to go over well. See, I think he's seeing stuff, so now he's trying to pry a little bit to see if Marion's seen anything.
None that I know of. But I'll inform Johans immediately if something comes up.
I'm serious, Mint. You see anything, anyone suspicious, and you report it. Immediately.
I think that goes without saying.
The concern he has on the talk of security is quickly gone. His arrogant, smug smirk returns if it is a bit subdued. Whatever smarmy remark or innuendo he has at the ready never comes through as voices from the dining hall ring out.
So, is this a full-time job for you then?
Nah, I just freelance mostly, for magazines, newspapers, and events. So you can't really call it a full-time job. It's fun and it puts food on the table, but it's not what I really want to do. At least not all the time.
That would be the magazine photographer, I presume. As always, Mrs. Wright talks in such kind and cheery fashion, no matter who she's talking with. It certainly puts people at ease around her. It sounds like it's working on the photographer, too. Hearing them, though, seems to put Mr. Wright in a sour mood. At least if a small scowl is anything to go by. Is he jealous?
Hey, are you alright there, Whiskey? You're looking like you need a serious drink.
What is it that you want to do then?
Films. Documentaries mostly. But cinematography is a lot more difficult than photography, right? I was working on the thing, actually.
I'm fine. Just a bit winded from all that moving about. It's been a long day.
And the day's not over yet. So if you can excuse the bloodness, you either shape up to help or ship out back to your room and let us do the rest of the work.
Get him, Marianne. He hesitates, eyes locked firmly on the door that led to the dining hall. Even now, we can still hear Mrs. Wright and the photographer chit-chat in between shots.
It's not my place to say this, but she really does seem to care a lot about you, you know?
There's no need to remind me of that.
A strange smile appears on his face before he shuts his eyes and sighs.
Tell the workers that you're all dismissed early.
That's nice and all, Whiskey. But we really shouldn't just take off. Delays aren't a good thing when it comes to big projects like these. The sooner we tackle certain issues, the better.
And I trust you can take care of these issues another day. Don't make me ask again, Mint. Just tell the others they can go home early, and to not worry, they'll still get paid the remaining hours.
I don't know what prompted this. With the air he's putting on, though, I know better than to meddle and prod further. Besides...
Fine, you're the boss.
Okay, we're gonna call this episode here. I'm trying to keep them around 30 minutes, so if you guys don't like them, let me know. If you want me to go longer, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Be nice to one another. Check out my other videos. Hit the like button, leave me a comment, and we'll meet in the next video. See you guys.